Hello students, welcome to the English class. Today I am going to explain you the second poem of your book Flamingo, that is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, written by Stephen Spender. So before beginning with the explanation of the poem, I would first like to give you a brief introduction of the poet Stephen Spender. So I must tell you that Sir Stephen Harold Spender was born on February 28, 1909 in London, and he attended Oxford University and fought in the Spanish Civil War. In the 1920s and 1930s, he associated with other poets and socialists such as W. H. Auden, Christopher Isherwood, Louis MacNeice, and C. Dale Lewis, and his early poetry was often inspired by social protest. During World War II, Spender worked for the London Fire Service and he co founded Horizon magazine with Cyril Connolly and served as its editor from 1939 to 1941. He was editor of Encounter magazine from 1953 to 1966. Spender's book of poetry include 20 poems published in 1930, Vienna, 1934, The Still Center in 1939, and Poems of Dedication in 1946 and The Generous Days in 1971. Spender was professor of English at University College London from 1970 to 1977 and gave frequent lectures tours in the United States. He was knighted in 1983 and died on July 16, 1995. He was an English poet, novelist, and essayist who concentrated on themes of social injustice and the class struggle in his work. And he was appointed the 17th Poet Laureate, consultant in poetry to the United States Library of Congress in 1965. So, this was about the poet. Now, let us discuss the theme of this poem. So, the main theme of this poem, or we can say that this poem deals with the theme of social injustice and class inequalities and attacks on the capitalistic economies in the world in which the rich are becoming richer, and even as more and more problems and miseries mire the lives of the poor, they are devoid of any opportunity and have become prey to social injustice. And in this poem, Spender demands equal opportunities for education for the poor and the unprivileged. So we can say that in this poem, the poet beautifully brings out the contrast in Stephen Spender as a romantic poet tone by aftermaths of the two brutal world wars and living in an age of social interest and economic bankruptcy. He highlights the harsh realities of life as experienced by the slum children, with a gulf between the haves and have nots increasing at an unimaginable pace. The children in the slums are deprived of their basic right to education, and their eyes dream of a better future with a distant and beyond their reach. So this was a brief introduction of the poem, which tells us what is the poem about. So now let's move on to the poem. First of all, before beginning the poem, I must tell you that this poem has been written in free verse. That means it does not have any rhyme scheme. So now let's begin with the explanation. The first stanza says, "Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn, round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease. His lesson from his desk at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So first now let me tell you the meaning of all the hard words in this stanza. The word gusty means blowing strongly. Pallor means pale coloring of the face, especially because of illness or fever. Weighed down means burdened. Paper seeming is, it means very thin. And stunted means not properly grown or developed. Here means the successor. Twisted means bent or distorted. Gnarled is twisted and rough, covered with hard lumps. Slyly means secretly or cunningly. So now, in these lines, the poet now is discussing or telling us about the children of the slums. He is referring to the children of the slums, telling that their pale faces are deprived of the cheerfulness and enthusiasm which mark the childhood days, and instead of bubbling with life, they seem to be worn out and exhausted with its burden. Now, in this stanza, the poet describes the children who study in an elementary school which is set up in a slum area. And the poet says that the faces of these children are dull without any energy. And they are not full of energy like other kids of their age. And these children are compared to unwanted weed. And here the writer wants to say that these children seem to be unwanted like the unwanted weeds which grow on their own in the fields, and their hair is not really their hair. Then he describes a tall girl who seems to be burdened by poverty, and her head is bent, maybe because of tiredness or shame. And there is another boy who is so weak and thin that he has been compared to a sheet of paper. So here the poet has used simile at many places. And then he says the boy's eyes reflect greed and he wants to achieve everything. Then he describes another student who is physically disabled. And the poet says that this boy is unlucky because he inherited a disease from his father, due to which he has a deformed body. And instead of getting any facility from his father, he has received a disease in heritage. And this disabled boy is sitting on his bench and is reciting his lessons. At the back of the class, in dim, dark area, was a small boy who was not visible to the poet as he was sitting in darkness. And the poet could see his eyes which were bright and full of a dream. He was not paying attention to the class, and it seemed as if he was rather interested in playing with squirrels in the tree house. So, and in these lines, the very first line, the expression far, far from the gusty face signifies that instead of enjoying their childhood in the lap of nature, frisking freely in the open grounds or beaches, the childhood of these children is confined to the dark and dingy walls of the slums. And the rootless weeds, here it is a simile like rootless weeds. So here in this the poet has laid a comparison between the weeds or unwanted plants and the faces of the children. the comparison has been drawn with the weak looking undernourished faces of these children. Their worn out faces are covered by their unkempt hair or dirty hair, scattered like rootless weeds. Rootless here suggests that these children lack proper nourishment. Then the poet has mentioned about the tall girl affected by her poverty. So the line weighed down head, or the phrase weighed down head, means that the tall girl is burdened by the load of poverty and the trials and tribulations of life, and she is so subdued and suppressed that her body and her head have been bowed down with the burden of misfortunes. And then in this stanza, what is the comparison that is drawn with rat's eyes? So here the poet with rat's eyes compares the eyes of a boy who is poor, undernourished, and is deprived of the basic amenities of life. His eyes are inquisitive and timid like the eyes of a rat, and he is always on the lookout for food and security. So now let's move on to the next stanza and see what is there in the next stanza. So here the next stanza says, on sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized doom, riding all cities, belt flowery Tyrolese valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its world. And yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, were all their futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. So in these lines, the words sour means unpleasant, and here it refers to the color of sour cream, off white or creamish color of the walls. And the word donations here means things given or received in charity. Dawn is the early morning or sunrise time, and civilized doom, here it means rising sun at the horizon, which is in the shape of a doom or a semicircle. Tyrolese Valley is a beautiful ice-free valley in Austria. Sealed is shut or locked, and lead here is the dark future of kids. And capes here means a large piece of land that sticks out into the sea from the coast. So in these lines, the poet describes the walls of the schools, and he says that they are creamy in color like the color of sour cream, and this means that the walls are not clean. They have not been painted recently. The walls are covered with different charts and images that must have been donated by different people. And there's a picture of Shakespeare on the wall, and his head, which is bald, looks like the rising sun at the horizon. And at the time of daybreak, the sun is rising at the horizon, and a semicircle like a doom shape is formed. So it seems to be behind all cities. And there's a picture of the famous Tyrolese Valley, which was beautiful, which has all the beautiful flowers, and there is the image of map, which helps all in its own way. But for these children, the map of the world is irrelevant, because the slum where they live is different from what is shown in the map. Their world is only what they see out of the window of the classroom. The slum, that is the slum area only, and their future is full of darkness. Their future is compared to a narrow street, which means that there is no wide scope available for their future growth. These children are far away from the radiant light of knowledge and education. So we can say that here the thin slum boy has been referred to here, and he is In this stanza, we can say that the sour cream walls donation, this expression suggests the poor and ill equipped environment of the slum school. And the sour cream walls of the school, which are probably painted with the help of donations, further add to the pale and sad ambience of the poem. Then, the Shakespeare's head in the line suggests that in an elementary school which is in the slum, where the value of education is minimal, reference to Shakespeare or good literature may rise hopes and aspirations which will never be fulfilled. And also, probably there is a portrait of Shakespeare hanging on the wall, which makes no sense for these poor children. So, this expression we can say is ironically used in this line. Then, the images like cloudless dawn and civilized doom highlight the monotonous and dull life in an urban slum. The elementary school classroom in a slum is so squeezed and suppressed under the so called civilized high dooms that the children are unaware of the beauty of the sky at dawn, and they are overridden by the concrete structure of the cities. The words like belled flowery Tyrolese valley. So these expression refers to natural beauty which the slum children are deprived of. And the slum children, they pass much of their life raking in garbage and slag and never get to enjoy the beauty of mountains and flowery valleys. And the reference of map in these lines is referred to the map of the world in the classroom, and it is symbolic of hopes and aspirations. For a look at it motivates the children to explore the world beyond, the world which has been awarded to us by God with all its bounties. But the world for these children comprises the filthy slums, and their hopes for a better world may just never be fulfilled. And in the fourth line of this second stanza, the poet says that the world of these children is confined within the walls of their slums. They may get glimpses of the beautiful world outside from the windows of these walls, but they shall never be able to own this world. And the future for these children is bleak and foggy, and they may nurture hopes and aspirations for a better future, but achieving these hopes is a vision, a dream for them, which will never be fulfilled. And where do these children spend their lives? They spend their lives in the slum only, and they are confined in these narrow streets of slums where dirt and filth reign supreme, which is full of dirt and filth. And these children lead a life of disease and despair within these narrow streets. And the words like lead sky, or this phrase lead sky, symbolize the dull grey sky, which is a symbolic of hopelessness and despair. And the clear blue sky makes hopes mount high, whereas a leaden sky polluted with toxics and smog is symbolic of the monotony of life the slum children remain confined to and throughout their life. And the bounties, what bounties the children are deprived of? So here the poet is saying that the children, they are deprived of all the bounties of nature or the beautiful nature. They spend their life confined in the filth and dirt of the narrow streets of the slums, and they never get an opportunity to bask in the glory of natural beauty of the rivers, the snow capped mountains and stars. So I hope you have understood this stanza. Now let us see to the poetic devices that are used in the first and the second stanza of this poem. So in the very first stanza, poet has used simile, metaphor and repetition. simile is used when the poet is comparing the hair of these children living in slum with the rootless weed. And metaphor is used in the line where the poet is comparing the thin boy, with a paper, and he calls him a paper seeming boy. And the repetition is used in the line, and the poet has used far to stress on the distance in many lines. So, the repetition of the word far in the lines is referring to the repetition, or we can say that the poetic device repetition has been used by the poet to stress on the distance. And in the second stanza, the poet has used the devices like metaphor. In the lines like walls are described to be dull as sour cream, saying that sour cream walls, and narrow street sealed with a lead sky. Here, the future of the kids is described as limited. And the poet has also used assonance. And what is assonance? The repetition of a vowel sound in many words. So here in the words like belled, flowery, Tyrolese valley, E, the vowel has been repeated. And the poet has also used allusion in the second stanza as the reference to a well-known person or a place is used. Here Shakespeare's head and Tyrolese valley has been used in this stanza. So the poet has taken or used allusion poetic device in this line. And poet has also used repetition as the word far is repeated. Now in the third stanza, the poet says, surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal, for lives that slyly turn in their crammed holes, from fog to endless night, on their slag heap. These children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum, so blot their map with slums as big as doom. So in these lines, the word wicked means evil, tempted means persuade, slyly means trickily, crammed is confined, slag means weak, mended means repaired, blot means to mark with a spot, doom means disaster. So in these lines, now the poet says that these children living in slum area have faced so many hardships that they feel every person to be their enemy, and for them Shakespeare is an evil man, as they don't find the map to be a good thing. They were never liked or loved by anyone, therefore they hate almost everyone, and their desire of being loved by others forces them to steal. They live in small homes and they have started adjusting to it, and their life is going towards an endless night. This means that their future is full of darkness. These kids are so thin that one can easily see their bones through the thin layer of skin. Their skin is like the thin layer of cloth, and the bones beneath are visible through the skin. So this shows that they are so skinny, so thin that one can count the bones of their body. And these kids suffer from malnutrition. They wear spectacles which are made of steel, and their spectacles are cheap and very uncomfortable. Even the lenses in the spectacles are repaired, and they look like stones which have been repaired with pieces of glass sticking out of them. And here the poet tries to explain that these kids have to face so many hardships in their life. As these slums are getting bigger, they will destroy the future of these children, according to the poet. And he says that it is very difficult for such kids to escape from them. Now, if I ask you why is Shakespeare referred to as wicked in these lines, we can say that Shakespeare is an epitome of high literary excellence, but in slum schools where hardly any learning takes place and where children are troubled by disease and despair, the literary training is a far cry. And the map, why the map is called as a bad example? Because a look at the map of the world makes one aware of the beautiful world provided to us by God. But the world for these children is confined to the narrow streets of the slum, and map for them is a bad example because it rouses in them hopes and aspirations which may never be fulfilled. And the expressions like ships, sun, and love are symbolic of the joy and brightness of life which these children are deprived of. In order to reach out to the world beyond, these children are sometimes tempted to adopt wrong methods to get their dreams fulfilled. And where do their lives slyly turn? So, according to the poet, the lives of these slum children cleverly turn and twist in their crammed holes. And the slum children spend their entire lives striving and struggling for their sustenance in small, dirty rooms where their life seems to slither and slog. And this line from fog to endless night, this expression describes the miserable and pathetic lives of these slum children. From foggy mornings till late at nights, these children make desperate attempts to live their life, sustaining it despite all odds, and their lot is full of misery, hopelessness, and suffering. So, then the words like slag heap, what does it refer to according to the poet? So, poet here refers to a large pile of waste material that remains after metal has been removed from the rock, and this dirt and garbage is the word for the slum children who spend their life raking in these slag heaps. And the expression like skins peeped through by bones refers to the weak and worn out looks of the slum children. These children, being undernourished, look more like skeletons and their bones literally peeping out of their thin skin cover. And what is the comparison that is drawn with bottle bits on stones now? What does the poet want to say by using this phrase or this line? So we can say that in these lines the poet want to say that these children are deprived of even the basic amenities of life, and their life is shattered and broken like bits of bottle on a stone. And what comprises the world for these children? We can say that the foggy slums, they comprise the world for these children, and the slums are only reality, the home for them where they spend their lifetime. And why does the poet see slums as a big doom? So we can say that the foggy, filthy slums which comprise the world for the slum children are living nightmares, and life there is worse than death. And these slums are stalking the world just like death stalks its victims anytime, anywhere. So now let's discuss the poetic device that is used in this stanza. So the poet has used metaphor in the words like crumpled holes because their homes are very small like holes. And poet has also used simile in the lines like bottles bits on stones. So here their repaired spectacles are signified. The spectacles are compared to the bottles bits on stones. And the poet has also used alliteration. And what is alliteration? You all know, the repetition of a consonant sound. So here in the words like from fog, the use of F sound is there repeatedly. It is used in the two words. Both the words are starting with F. So here the poet has used alliteration. Now let's move on to the last stanza. The last stanza says, unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs break or break till they break the town, and show the children to green fields, and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books, and white and green leaves open history there whose language is the sun. So here in these lines the word catacombs means tomb or cemetery, and azure means deep blue. So in these lines the poet says that the government should take notice of the problems being faced by these kids, the children living in slums, and he urges them to change the life of these kids and make the world map a reality for them. And there is a need to break the restrictions which are put on them due to poverty and lack of resources. And he wants the governor and public to help these kids in achieving their dreams, as this will take them away from fog to the blue sky. That means from darkness to blue sky. And the poet here wants to say that in this way the kids can be taken away from the darkness to their present, to a bright future. And he wants these kids to experience the sands and the beauty of nature, as this will lead to a desire of gaining knowledge, and they will then go through the white and green leaves. Here white leaves depict books and green leaves depict nature, and this will then result in their progress, and they will be able to paint a bright future for themselves. Or in other words, we can say that the poet hopes that these children would one day break free from the chains of the slums, and they will rise above all atrocities and economic injustice, and will create a beautiful world for themselves. And the poet visualizes a world where these children will be free to bask in the freedom of the green fields and frolic around on the sea beaches in a carefree manner, and they would not be troubled by injustice of life. And then the expressions like green fields and gold sands symbolize the carefree and happy life that these children are going to lead, and it refers to a world where social and economic injustice does not prevail, and everyone enjoys the right to live a happy life. And the phrase like let their tongues run naked into books. Here the poet strongly feels that the lives of these children will be very miserable and unfulfilled unless they are educated. Thus, he wishes that these children be exposed to the world of books, and they should be educated so that they can break themselves free from the confines of the slums. And the word sun in the last line is symbolic of the grace and light of God. Here it refers to the light of education. The poet strongly feels that it is the educated alone who can transform the world. So now let's see to the poetic devices or the literary devices in this stanza. So the poet has used metaphor in the line like the white green leaves open. So here books and nature are expressed in form of white and green leaves. And the poet has also used anaphora. What is anaphora? It is the use of repeated words in two consecutive lines. So here the words like run azure and run naked, here run is repeated in the consecutive lines. So it is anaphora being used in this stanza. So I hope you all have understood the poem. Now thank you and goodbye.